My best friend Jenny is a marvel to me. Cool, funny, insanely talented beauty alchemist with nearly 30 years of experience transforming faces. From fellow moms to A-list celebrities you know and love. Her passion for healing has quite literally changed my life and continues to teach me.
My best friend Kirsten is the epitome of a cool chick. Her fashion sense is as iconic and sexy as the brand consultancy she founded. Together we laugh, learn, and navigate life, motherhood, and business together.
So pour a glass of rosé or grab a matcha and join us as we talk about all the things that bring a higher vibration to life and to friendship.
I'm super jazzed because we have a guest,
Indeed.
Maggie.
So excited to have Maggie here.
So excited.
Very first. So how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, no complaints.
Really excited, kind of our first in-person guest, and to have it be Maggie is
Maggie is in my bag of tricks.
for sure.
Okay. Bag of tricks, toolbox. I discovered Maggie way back when my son was diagnosed on the spectrum. We started working together so she could really inform me on the best supplements to give to Bo.
Right.
And make sure, nutritionally and supplement wise, he could thrive.
And then similar time, you introduced me to Maggie. Hudson has had a stutter since I think about 3, and kind of brought you in to help on all of the things kid-wise. It wasn't just kind of the stutter, but how to help support them in all of the ways. And it was just amazing having you be there and having kind of the knowing and the comfort and the confidence, especially given I think it was right before my divorce, like how helpful that was, just to really have kind of somebody that knew things and ways to help support my kids that I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah.
And then it's just really grown from there.
Yeah. I mean, Maggie herself, she can enlighten everybody of what her craft is, but she's a homeopath and a whole lot more. Yes.
I am a classical homeopath, but I also am a medical intuitive, and then I also do Reiki as well.
It's funny because I used Maggie for my kids before I was using you for myself, because that's what we do as mothers.
Moms, yes.
Yes.
We did
So
that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had a very special pet. Her name was Lola Beatrice, aka Cutie Beast, as my kids renamed her. And we were doing a session in person at my house, and Lola was in the kitchen, and Lola was communicating with Maggie, and she kind of stopped the session with the kids and was like, "I'm sorry, but like, what's going on with the dog?" Yeah. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And Lola was very old, like she was like 16 years old, but like she was my best friend and was such an integral part of my life. Like I took her to work every day. She would lay on my clients. We called it the pug add-on, the pug add-on service. And, we were just like 2 peas in a pod. And that dog is really what influenced me actually to have a kid. And so she was the gateway to that drug.
Yeah, well.
Whoops. So anyways, I should have probably just had pugs. But anyways, so Maggie kind of interrupted the session and was like, "What's going on with the dog?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "She's, she's grieving. She's full of grief." And I was like hysterical, like, "Wait, what?" And yeah, she was ready to transition, but was not able to do it on her own. So Maggie did some energy work on Lola and gave her a remedy. And you said in 2 weeks, she'll be ready to transition. And she did. She died in my arms. And she told me the night that she was going to die. And so I laid downstairs with her, and it was absolutely the most peaceful, magical experience.
You know, to live well is obviously like on everyone's, list of priorities, but to die well, that's a whole other blessing, you know. And I think if all of us can die without resistance and without clinging to this mortal coil that is our flesh suit, or to unresolved issues or whatever's keeping us, from really being able to just go with the flow of when it's our time, it is the biggest, I think, most important blessing, I think, in someone's life. And I mean, Buddhist monks spend their whole lives trying to die well, and they want to not come back in the same, if you guys believe in reincarnation, to come back in the same, with the same karma, the same dharma,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so, I was just having this conversation with a dear client and one of my dear friends, Dr. Gia, and her dad is transitioning. And we were just having this whole conversation about like, can be a real struggle to die, and like exactly what you said, like if you haven't gone through your karma and fix the things that you were born into this life to fix, then it's going to be pretty fucking hard to exit.
Yeah. But I want what I don't know that.
You know what? As your bestie, I'll give you that remedy. I'll give you the Kevorkian facial.
I'm in.
And
I know, with the two of you, that's why, like, this is the way to go.
I'm telling you what.
I'm in.
Kirsten's mom told her that
She's still alive. Very, very,
Very much alive.
very much.
Yeah.
She said, when I'm basically on my deathbed, I want Jenny to be giving me a facial.
like, not, I want my daughter by her side, or I want to take, like, none of that. No.
No, I want the bliss of the facial.
Yeah, she wants Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, move aside, Kirsten. She wants Jenny. And she's not fucking kidding.
And so we've coined it the Kevorkian facial.
I love that.
So you guys should team up and figure out this.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Death duo.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been really good. How do you get started? Like, did you know, were you a little girl and like, this is what I want to do? Like, how does this?
So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a vet. And then I figured out that I would have to like put animals down. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not going to be a vet, So then I was studying, in 8th grade, we studied anatomy and physiology. And I was just like voracious for this, information. It was almost like I was remembering it, it felt so familiar to me, but definitely, as an 8th grader, I was like, oh no, I really need to learn all of this, every meticulous little part of physiology and anatomy. And my mom's a nurse. My grandmother was a nurse. My aunt was a nurse anesthetist. So there's like a line of nurses in my family for sure. And I knew I didn't want to study medicine because I had some other ideas about what health and disease were about, and they didn't really fit the conventional norms of conventional medicine. And so I had an opportunity to go to college. I got into UC Davis when I graduated from high school in San Diego, which is where I'm from. And my parents were getting a divorce at the time, and they were like, we're divorcing. And I was like, wow, I didn't want to be in debt, So I went to community college for a minute, and then I traveled to Europe, and then I moved to Ireland, and I lived in Ireland for 20 years. And when I lived in Ireland, I started studying homeopathy and did a 4-year degree course in homeopathy in the Burren, which is in the west of Ireland. And that's really when it solidified for me as like, this is what I'm doing for a living, But before that, I just thought I was a very sensitive, I just thought I was very sensitive. My parents, bless them, they had no clue as to how to deal with me. It really began with like me feeling the spirits of roadkill animals as we were driving along. And I would be like, we have to stop and help. And my parents were like, that animal's dead. Why are we stopping? Like, I just thought everyone could talk to you know, a dying animal spirit and help the spirit
No, that is not
kind
the
of get
case.
to where it needs to go, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, not everybody. Out of this table, 2 out of the 3 might be able to. I'm just saying, not everyone.
That's true. Not everyone. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so that's kind of where it started. But then formalized studying homeopathy. And then I worked at a homeopathic pharmacy in Dublin for a good 3-4 years called Nelson's. They're still around there in England. They're an English company. And then I started to expand when I came to back to the United States in 2011. I started working at the pharmacy in Santa Monica. It's a Santa Monica homeopathic pharmacy. There's not many jobs for homeopaths. I mean, like to be paid to do homeopathy, like it doesn't really exist in this country except for homeopathic pharmacy. So I was very grateful to get that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yet, can you tell us what homeopathy is?
Sure. So it's a system of medicine. It's been around for about 250 years. It was started by a German MD named Samuel Hahnemann. And he came up with the idea of implementing a very old philosophy of like cures like, which is Paracelsus or Paracelsus, depending on where you got your education. He came up with the idea of like cures like, but then Hahnemann took it and said, okay, let's make a science. Let's make an empirical science out of this. He was frustrated with his own medical practice. He had 6 children. They were one of them was really very ill, and he thought his child was going to die. He had nothing. You know, he tried all the conventional approaches, and he's like, I've got to come up with something that's going to work, you know, to save my child. And so he started playing around with this idea of like cures like, and so in order for a homeopathic remedy to be homeopathic, it has to be diluted and succussed, which means shaken vigorously is succussed. So dilution after dilution after dilution, there's no molecules of the original substance left in what you're taking in the remedy, but there's the vibration or the frequency of that substance in the remedy. So that is what, when you're taking a homeopathic remedy, that's what's interacting with your own vital force, your own immune system to respond and react and bring balance. So it's really the body that's doing the work. It's not, you know, a drug or anything like that. And it's not molecular medicine the way conventional medicine is, or even herbs is molecular medicine. So it's an energy medicine. I would say, you know, when I work with people, not everybody's body loves homeopathy. Most of the people that come to me, their body likes homeopathy, but occasionally I'll get someone who just really needs herbs. They need the grounding, you know, their body wants herbs more than it wants homeopathy, this ethereal thing, as opposed to like this really grounding sort of medicine, which herbalism definitely is grounding, because it's all from the earth, you know, it's all from plants. Whereas homeopathy is from anything you can imagine. There's a homeopathic remedy made out of it. So every element on the periodic table of elements, there's a homeopathic remedy. Most plants, there's homeopathic remedies made of. Conventional drugs, there's homeopathic.
That's what I love about it is it's this giant spectrum of things that it can treat. And it's so gentle and safe.
Those are the tenets: permanent, rapid, and gentle. Right. So like
permanent, rapid, and gentle.
Yeah. Like if it's not gentle, then we're not doing it. Like that's not. Yeah. It's got to be gentle. You know. And so for most people, you know, homeopathic remedies are a very gentle way to, you know, find more balance in their life, whether it's an acute issue or a chronic issue.
By the way, that is the dog, not Jenny's stomach.
You know, if nothing, do no harm. I mean that goes without saying, as far as I'm concerned. It's really about helping people be present, helping people see where would be good to shift in themselves, and then, you know, giving the remedy that's gonna get them there. You know. Sometimes when I treat people, they'll say like, you know, you haven't even given me anything yet, and I already feel better. You know, unfortunately, conventional medicine isn't really taking time. I mean, bless them, they don't really get the time. They get 10 minutes with each person, and that's it. You know, but I think a new model is really exciting. You know, to merge conventional medicine with alternative therapies to kind of, we can take a few feathers from their cow, and they can take a few feathers from ours. And I think the main one is being present when they're with their patients and giving that presence where you know you're in a safe place and you know you're being heard. You know, I mean, I think that's so healing just in and of itself.
Totally.
So
Yeah, you guys both do a great job.
Yes.
I mean, you're definitely the first go-to for me and for both of us of like, I'm going through this, or this hurts, or my kids have a thing.
Yeah. And I'll just speak to my personal experience with Maggie is I've gone to Maggie, I think when I first started perimenopause. So I was like, you know, weight gain, my joints were super achy. My biggest perimenopause complaint is it started with my kids asking me, "Are you mad at me?" Oh yeah. Oh my God, do I have a like resting bitch face all the time? Or I'm just I'm just walking around like a complete asshole and not, you know, not aware of it. I mean, we've worked together previous to that, but I think like I was really ready to dive in. And Maggie would, I was taking a bunch of, so I'm well versed on supplements and doing my own thing with that. But what I love about Maggie is I could be taking, let's say, magnesium glycinate, and she can do like her witchy reading on it and be like, I love you on magnesium glycinate, but I don't love this brand.
right.
So she can really test the efficacy of a supplement that you're taking. It may be the right supplement, but it may be, I don't know if the brand's not in alignment or the brand's not clean.
Right.
As we know, the supplement world is like a fucking Wild West.
It really
And
is.
so that was the Wild West. And so that's one thing that I so value about your service is that you can really dig in and test that for people. That's really special because we can have all the information, but there's
Sure.
sometimes a missing piece that we're not attuned to. And I also love that, you know, I was taking supplements, whether they were referred from my acupuncturist or whatever. And I think what you taught me is to kind of like be my own guide with like how much I'm taking of something. And so like, yes, I love that you're taking, you know, beef organs, but like maybe don't take so many. So I was like on the right path, but now I can like stand in front of my medicine repertoire, quite extensive. And I can be like, I'm going to do that. Like, that feels right. That feels right. I'm not going to skip that today. And like, it's completely changed the way in which I supplement my body. And maybe you can speak more to that.
Yeah, I love that. So, I mean, I think a lot of people that come to see me, they've worked with other practitioners and they're on other protocols. And I don't want to, step on the feet of anyone, but at the same time, I'll test for resonance. So is it resonant with the person? And then also I'll test for tolerance. So just because I'm resonating with something doesn't mean I can tolerate it. And certainly with the supplement world, as you said, it's like serving suggestion size. I mean, that is on that bottle, depending on, an 85-pound woman could pick up that bottle, or a 350-pound man could pick up that bottle. They don't need the same dosage. Like this, just, yeah. So, so fine tuning that for people, maybe only taking it twice a week, maybe your body, only needs it twice a week, maybe, giving them options that are resonant and that that they can tolerate, I think is really empowering. And my whole shtick is empowerment. I mean, that's, I want people to be able to come to me as much as they want, but then at the same time, I also over time want to give them the tools to be able to discern what is resonant with them and what can they tolerate. And I'm happy to support them in that regardless, but over time, it makes sense for the majority of the people on the planet to be able to be present, to be able to tune in to what is resonant for them and be able to let that guide them and be in the flow of that, And once we're in the flow, it feels like so much more is just attainable, and so much more is just kind of dropped in our lap, for our consideration. Right. So
Totally.
it's just, it's not chasing, it's attracting, which, I mean, we know we know that.
Can I take us back for 1 second?
Yes.
When you talk about testing, can you explain that a little bit more? Because I feel like people are like, oh, she's testing. Like there's some type of. Right. So like, and I've seen you do it, but can you kind of bring that to life, explain that, like what's happening?
Yeah. So everyone has the ability to muscle test. There's a bunch of different schools of thought on muscle testing. I don't think any of them are wrong. I think certain ones fit for certain people, and it's just a matter of finding the one that fits for you. But I used a actual pendulum for a long time, for about 17 years or so. And then in 2012, I started using the human pendulum method, which is basically just using my body as a pendulum. Really, I didn't invent it, but I certainly will teach it to anyone that is interested in learning it at any time. It doesn't matter where I am, grocery store, parking lot, I don't care.
Yeah.
So because I think it is just so empowering for a few reasons, but that's what I mean when I say testing.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful.
Is muscle testing, using the body as a pendulum. And
Awesome.
so for me, going forward, if my body, when I ask a question, if my body goes forward, then it's a yes. If my body goes backwards, it's a no. It is different for each person as to what their yes is and what their no is. But once they find out what their yes and their no is, then it doesn't change. It just, it stays the same. So they're off to the races.
Awesome.
Then.
So you've taught me that, and mine is the opposite. And we'll do that at the end.
Okay,
so stay tuned until that. All right, now your question.
Oh, I just would love her to explain what a medical intuitive is.
So medical intuitive work is really about my higher self speaking to the other person's higher self, and that other person's higher self is telling my higher self what the issue is. That's literally what it is. I mean, I think, when people have been to the best of the best at here in Los Angeles at like Cedars-Sinai, UCLA, and nobody can figure out what's going on with them. They've got to think outside the box. I think the medical intuitive approach is really helpful for people that really have like trudged through every conventional way of looking at whatever their ailment is, and they haven't gotten a solution. And then I think going the medical intuitive route is very helpful for those kind of people. Also really helpful for any parents whose kids are on the spectrum, because I can hear what they're saying and relay information about, I want fish in my bedroom, or I want you to change the color of my, bedroom. It's for a little boy, and I'm growing up now, so I want like a bigger boy bedroom, or whatever it is, whatever they, whatever their thoughts are, to be able to convey those to parents is really, really helpful on so many levels. And so those are the main sort of applications. And then sometimes I'll just do energy work, which is biofield balancing, similar to Reiki. Both of them are energy work, where with biofield balancing, it's more about looking at, attuning all the chakras, but then also looking for energetic signatures that are in the field, the energetic field of the body.
So when you're like, what appears to me like you're talking to your imaginary friends around you.
Yes.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the pendulum, or that's the bio?
The bio, well, it gets kind of, it all kind of melds in, right? I mean, I'm one physical vehicle of a human. And so if I tried to separate them out, I can definitely separate them out if I really try, but I can't really turn off the information that's coming to me. So inevitably that becomes part of whatever I'm doing.
Right.
It's almost like trying to explain when my clients are like, so like, what do we do in the facial today? And I'm like, I have no idea. Because I similarly work super intuitively.
So to explain it to somebody that hasn't seen it, you'll be like, hey, what do you think about this supplement for Hudson? Or what do you think about this? And you're clearly going somewhere in your mind, in your body, in your higher, like you can feel it, you can see it, but that's when you're tapping into that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it kind of brings me out of time. in some way. I feel like it's very hard for me to keep track of time when I'm working with people. Like it's a real issue that I've worked on, and I think I'm getting there. But like, it is, yeah, it's not a linear, space. It's outside of time is the way I describe it. I try to stay in my body now these days. I used to be really great at leaving my body and astral projecting. And when I was a kid, I would fly all over the place in my dreams, have flying dreams, and then waking. Actually, when I was awake, I would be astral projecting as well. And I think I just had my parents were great, but I did have some challenges when I was a child in terms of feeling safe in my body. And so for the longest time, I was like, yeah, I'm not hanging out in my body. Why would I do that? Like that would just be off. And then I realized when I got older that, because I have a physical body, I really should be inhabiting it, because then there's all kinds of issues that come from, when we're neglecting our physical body. Right. And so I had to learn to stay in my body and just send 0.001% of myself out as like a fact-finding mission, or to have conversations, or because the more parts of ourself that we send out, the more diffused our energy becomes, until we call those aspects of ourself. I think in shamanism, it's called soul retrieval when they do that. And so it's a similar thing that I do for some patients if they need it, if that's part of their issue. But yeah, it's really about staying. I mean, the power of staying in our body is really important, I feel like, for a lot of people that are on this spiritual quest, people that, it's easy for them to leave their body. It's like, no, their work is to stay in their body, right? And then the people that are so grounded, they're tourists, they're so like grounded, their work is to get up into their ethereal, right?
Will you share with us some of your high vibrational rituals?
The most important thing I think for myself and for most people is to be grounded. So I imagine the crown being connected to my version of the divine. And then on the other side of that, there's the grounding, which is, I just imagine a grounding cord going from my hips, which is around first chakra, all the way down to the center of the earth, and connecting to the center of the earth. So whatever visualization people want to use for that, whatever's relevant to them and feels resonant and good for them, whatever visualization they want to use is great. What has worked for me is a ship's chain with an anchor on it, and then the center of the earth being a magnet. So when I send down that ship's chain, it's the connection being the strongest connection you can imagine. That's what keeps it there, right? So I encourage people to do that every morning. If I can stay in my body and I can be grounded and my crown is connected to my version of the divine, all these things just become possible. Everything just feels like it's in the flow. Besides, doing Dead Sea salt baths and using essential oils daily and meditating daily, I do stretching. I go for hikes. I'm a big hiker. I'll go with my dog every day. I always feel grounded in the mountains, no matter where I am. Yeah, earthing, putting my feet on the ground. Right now there's snow up there, so I'm not doing that right now. But yeah, in the summer and in the spring, I actually have a rock in the bottom part of my house where they built the house around this rock. So I could just go down into the downstairs and just put my feet on the rock.
You're up in the mountains. Lucky you. I feel lucky too. I'm in the South Bay. But I think collectively, that there's a real angst. There's a real angst.
Yeah, there is.
That's happening on the planet.
For sure.
And one thing that I have noticed is some of those grounding tools don't work for me anymore.
Okay.
And maybe we can speak to a little bit about that, because what I have found was when there is that vibration happening in the world, like
it's happening
since the beginning of the year,
Uh-huh.
especially being in LA, it's like, for me, the things that come up, like I'm shortness of breath, super anxious. So all these signs that I need to like get back into my body, and like I'm very sensitive to the outside people. That's why work in a dark treatment room or myself.
Right.
But what I have found is that some of those techniques don't work for me right now.
Right.
And so I have found that grounding to, like you said, the grounding cord, but almost kind of like in the root chakra of my own body has been really helpful. Can you give any kind of suggestion for people when they're in an environment that what's happening in the world, you know, the earth's surface is just covered with all of that energy.
Yeah. I mean, I think we get to coexist with energies that we don't necessarily agree with or like. You know, I think coexisting, like with even just EMF energy, I'm not, it doesn't really feel great. I do have Wi-Fi in my house and I coexist with the energy. So I don't allow the energy to kind of come into my field. So I feel like, you know, yes, you can Wi-Fi or negative, whatever energy we're talking about that isn't congruous with the individual, we can just recognize that it's not congruous and just be like, okay, you're over there and I'm over here. I respect you. You respect me. We're good. You know?
Almost like you're your own force field.
Yes.
And you're protecting like having the acknowledgement of like, okay, this is what's going on outside of my control, outside of, you know, my ability to change something. And so having the acknowledgement that you're two separate.
Exactly. And I think, you know, because we can disagree with something or not like something, it doesn't mean that thing's going to change, right? So it's really about being okay in my body with not liking whatever that thing is. You know, it's all information, right? It's just information for my consideration. We learn what we like and what we don't like as we get older, definitely. And I think staying out of judgment of ourselves and others is key. I mean, it's very easy to fall into judgment as humans. That's kind of what we do. But it doesn't help us and it doesn't help the situation and it doesn't change the situation. What usually changes the situation is me realizing that I'm not congruous with something and then sending it blessings. Or,
I love that.
you know, being like having the tolerance, if nothing else, to just go, okay, we're really different. Wow, we're so different. You know, you really like that, and I really don't like that. And wow, couldn't be more different. You know, but being able to be solid enough in myself to feel comfortable within my own, you know, work on my own stuff. Why do I dislike that so much? What is it in me? Where's the button? Where's the trigger that's being triggered by this situation or this person or this viewpoint or whatever it is? And do the inner work, you know, do what I call shadow work, which is really about, it's never about the other. It's always about what's going on within me. And if I can look at that with compassion for myself, well, then I've got compassion to give to the world too.
I love that. Seeing that ugly in others, but knowing that that's your shadow work.
Yeah.
And being graceful and soft with yourself and just emulating love.
I mean, you know, that's the ideal. You know, life sometimes
it's really hard.
I'm like, give me what you guys are drinking.
Yeah.
It's like, in theory, yes, and
yeah,
but it's fucking hard.
yeah,
it is.
But I love what you said because it's so true.
It's just not putting all my eggs in one basket. You know, like I'm not giving the world the ability to govern my inner state. I'm trusting myself with that.
And what I love is when you are able to give, that's how you receive.
Full stop. Yes, for sure.
And so it may seem counterintuitive, but the more you can love and forgive and send compassion for things that are just not in alignment with you, the more you get tenfold back.
And we're all going through, I mean, none of us are getting out of this alive, right?
No.
I mean, we're all,
Great point.
we're all in the same boat.
That's dying well.
Yeah, we're all in the
it's gonna
same
happen.
boat. So, you know, being able to kind of give ourselves compassion in just being not as rigid with my thoughts. I used to have such rigid thoughts about a lot of things, about women's rights, about women's health, about women's bodies, about all that. And I still really believe those things, but I've allowed myself to have compassion for people that disagree with me on those things. And just, they get to have their opinion. It's their body, and that's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Knowing, if I were a teenage girl living in a red state and I, got pregnant or so, like I wouldn't have access, those are things that I believe pretty strongly about, but at the same time, I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with, how they're approaching their health and how they're approaching their body. And so I certainly don't have like a line where I won't treat certain, people. I mean, I think my practice is like half and half, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I don't have any bias around it in that space that I'm creating for people to step into when I'm working. Privately, there's a whole different process that goes on. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Kristen.
Yeah. Cool. So maybe a good opportunity to teach people the human pendulum to like give themselves agency over
Exactly. Yeah.
things.
So other than getting a yes and a no, like what would people use this for?
Great question. So the main thing I think is really about feeling safe and getting information about when we're feeling some type of way that isn't really very positive, asking questions about that state while you're in that state in order to transform that state and release it, right? So, for example, feeling scared or feeling in fear is not my favorite emotion at all. Whenever I am feeling fear come up in my system, I always treat it like it's like I've opened the door and fear has walked into the room. Like I've invited fear into my house, and I usually say, "Oh, okay, there's fear. Hi, fear. What are you doing here?" I mean, if it's obvious why the fear is there, then it's obvious, right? But if I'm not quite sure why I'm feeling that way, I ask a bunch of questions and I'll get answers in real time. First question I ask, being on the clair spectrum, so clairaudient, clairvoyant, claircognizant, etc., is this feeling mine? A lot of times when people are sensitive, they're picking up on other people's emotions or emotions in the collective unconscious of the entire human race. So that's the first question. Is it mine? Is this mine? Right? And you'll get a yes or a no, depending on, whether your body goes forward or back or left or right. One woman, when I taught her the human pendulum method, this was her yes. Her shoulders started like going up and down really like uncontrollably. I was like, wow, that's so great. Occasionally you'll get like a side, so their body will go to the side for yes or no. But yeah, so I'll ask that question. Am I safe? That's another great question. Am I safe in this now? Am I safe with this person? Before I enter a new place or a new room, am I safe to enter this building? Is there anything energetic that's going to be problematic for me in this building? Not just physically being safe, but psychically being safe. And I think so much can just be done with just that, because then if we can rectify the issue of what brought our vibration down. And I don't mean pushing it aside. I mean, there's room for suppression. We all need suppression. It'll come back. I mean, it'll still be there when we go to look for it next time. But we're not always in a position to unearth and look at things in the moment. So the options would be to suppress it, which is fine, or to sit with it and see what the message is. Like, why are you here today? Fear. Talk to it like it's sitting across the table from you. What are you here to teach me? What am I here to learn? What's going on? And then if we can receive that information in some way with thanks and gratitude, we can then invite that vibration or feeling to either move around our bodies or to be released if it's ready to do so. That's different to pushing it out. It's saying, you've got space here. I'm going to hold you, fear. I've got you. And if you need to be here, that's okay. I'm going to feel what I'm supposed to feel in relation to you in this moment. And then when we're done, if you're ready to go, then then I release you with grace and ease, right?
I love that.
Ideally, that's what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. So sometimes it does, sometimes there's layers. So you have to sit with fear quite a few times before it's all released, you know? And then life happens in the meantime. And so, you know, there's always something to meet. But I think the main one is fear. Yeah, big time.
Which I think is probably the biggest feeling of the world right now. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
1000%.
So I love that we can all walk away from this episode with a tool to help us with this incredible, scary fear.
Let's do it.
So let's stand up.
Okay.
Pretty simple. You stand with your feet shoulder width apart and parallel. Your arms are just at your sides. Your legs, if you feel your thighs, they would be engaged, meaning they would be kind of pulled up. And then imagine you have like a string going through the center of your body and it's pulling you up like you are physically, you are the pendulum, right? Once you find your center, you're not too far to the right, too far to the left, too far back, or too far forward. You find your center and you find your center and then stop moving. And then we ask a question to see what is yes and what is no. So the best one is my name. And then you say your name. And then let's see what your body does. So you're going back. Yeah. Forward straight away. And you're going forward for yes. The questions have to be unambiguous. So
This
you
can
know,
be loaded.
Yeah, I'm Jenny.
Okay.
I'm going forward. Can't you see?
yes, I can see.
Okay.
Okay. And then ask a question that you know the answer is no to, and then see what your body does. And then you'll have your no. So I would like say, is my name Jenny? And immediately my body goes backwards, right? So that's no for me.
My name is not Maggie.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you can ask all kinds of things, right? So I mean, this is
Oh boy, your dating life has just changed.
you can ask about dating. You can. So,
I'm sure we could.
is this person trustworthy? Does this person have my highest good in mind? Is this person going to be able to keep up with me? These are the questions I would think of for you.
Those are great questions. I'm just going to go over here.
Right? What is their total vitality? And then you start counting and your body will go forward on a number, or for you, it would be
What is your
backwards. What is your sperm count? Exactly. But yeah, all kinds of
How many dates
questions.
have you swiped to the right today?
Ooh, yeah. Is this person on a dating site still now that we're dating? You know, I mean, these are all questions.
These are great questions.
It doesn't really mean that you have to share the information that you receive, but you can have the knowing of it and then decide to share it or not. You know, it's agency.
Mhm.
Literally.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give us, so people that are trying to sit at home, obvious with the obvious, is this my name? Is this not my name?
Right.
What are some great questions that could help somebody just in a general well-being?
Right.
Yeah.
How many hours are in my highest good to sleep per night?
Ooh.
Is this food nourishing for my body? Is this food, am I resonating with this food? Is it in my highest good to take the thing, go to the place, meet the person, wear this? I even do it for clothing as well. So is it in my highest good to wear this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wearing a skirt today. Okay. Let me see. Is it this one? This one? Oh, it's this one. Okay, great. Like that. I literally do that because color and fabric is vibration.
I do that. It's just
new.
I know, but it's just more energetic than things.
But I
call
think
to me.
it could really cut down the time and
No, I would argue that I'm doing the exact same thing that Maggie is doing, but I'm not going through my mind to do it. I just feel drawn to certain things. And I go, that's the shoes
I love
wanna
that.
wear.
Yes.
That's the shoes. But I'm literally drawn to, and I
Yeah.
maybe
But literally, I have worn things that they've picked out for me, and I've looked in the mirror and be like, okay, no, I'm not wearing this because it's ridiculous. You know, vibrationally, it's a match, but like I look very discombobulated.
I think that's one of the things that you helped me to realize is if I'm drawn to something, like we were going through ashwagandha, I think. one time.
Right.
If I'm kind of drawn to it, there's a reason for that.
For sure.
I'm
For
not
sure.
impacted, but it's like, you know, and I'm drawn to it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
Who is it back
that's
down?
why it's
packaging with
Yeah, clothes wise, I do feel like that for me is a very intuitive
Yeah.
and energetic process.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to pick out clothes,
Great.
you know, and see who I want to appear as today, how I want to represent myself today. Yeah, it's so much fun. So, and just because I'll get a yes on something doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to follow it or that I'm going to heed the information. I mean, I certainly spent many years not listening, and that was not very easy, but it was, I learned a lot, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
like, you know, and sometimes, so now I'll ask beforehand, you know, before I buy the ticket, before I make the arrangement with a friend, before I, you know, I'll muscle test, is my highest good to meet this person at this time in this location. And those could be 3 separate questions, right? Because again, unambiguous. So we want it to be as succinct as possible. But yeah, I mean, I haven't always listened to it, especially around food. Like 9-10 p.m. I'm like a hunter in my own kitchen. I'm like on a safari looking for chocolate. That's what's happening. And sometimes my team's like, you really don't need to, you know, my spiritual team, really, you don't need to be eating that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's really, I'm going to eat it anyway. It really tastes good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know. So, I mean, we still have free will. It's not like, you know, we're robots or anything. Like, we're just getting information, and then we get to decide what we want to do with that information. But as long as it's, you know, it's information that is in alignment with your highest good. So if you want to be in alignment with your highest good, you really don't have to ask anyone anything ever again. Really.
Whoa.
Which is super powerful.
I love that when you shared the dream that you had about the politician on stage and, you know, the whole mass convention center or wherever you were at. They were muscle testing, and like, I think if we all had the ability to tap into that gift, you know, it could really change the course of many things.
I really think it will. I think it means basically that, you know, people can be fact checked in real time.
Yeah.
So if an audience of people, if that entire audience knows how to muscle test and is asking the same question or similar questions about the integrity of the person who is trying to run for office, for example, then there's really there's nowhere to hide. So in the dream, that's what happened. There was a politician on stage. There was a bunch of people in the audience. They were all muscle testing in real time, and there was one person in the center of the audience on a platform with a microphone, and getting all the information was disseminated to that person. And then she spoke for the crowd, and she was just like, "Okay, we know you're not being honest with what you just said, so we're going to give you one more chance. Go ahead." And so then he said something else about what he was going to do if he were elected, and everyone murmured and did all the muscle testing, and then it all went up to the lady with the microphone, and she said, "Okay, well, you're not being honest, so you know you're not a candidate anymore. Okay, next." And then I woke up. So like, it's just it really has such a huge impact. The potential of it is so huge. It really could change everything, and it's not through any physical force.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much grace in it.
Yeah, it's a great tool, especially as people want to get, I know I'm certainly do, more connected to your intuition, more connected to my intuition.
Sure.
It's a great tool to really have, you know, ongoing.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many people. So one of the things that I also do when people, when I work with them is they want me just to tell them what is in their highest good. Maybe they don't trust their own intuition. Maybe they don't trust the human pendulum, their own ability to do the human pendulum method yet. But they'll be like, you know, I've got 2 job offers. You know, this one I really want to do, but it doesn't pay as much. This one it pays so much, but I really don't want to do it. I'm like, you already have the answer. You're the one that you want to do. Like, come on. But they'll, you know, I'll muscle test for them on that. Or, you know, I'm supposed to go on holidays. Do I go in June or July or August? Like, what, you know, and I'll muscle test for location, when the dates are, you know, all that kind of stuff. Just because they want to be in the flow. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to have any mishaps. They don't want to have any, you know, accidents or anything that's going to be, take away from their experience of really enjoying themselves on holidays. But most of the time it's for people that are making pretty serious health decisions, and they want to know, this chemo drug is going to work, or, if they should try the other one. So I help support them with that process. But it's really about, examining your options, what is possible, and then using your own free will to, make decisions about the directions you want to be going. It's very intentional. There isn't a lot of like spontaneity involved in muscle testing for everything. So that's part of the reason why I don't muscle test for every little thing. And I don't ask questions that I don't want to know the answers to. Yeah. Because it's a powerful modality. So be ready to receive the information, Oh, that's the other thing. So if someone is using human pendulum method and they're not quite, they think they're interfering, like they think, that their body's moving forward, but they feel like they're moving their body forward.
Right.
Like it's not just doing it itself. I have a little trick for people to try and establish like what is the truth. And so what I'll do is I'll ask them to imagine the question, whatever question they were asking, imagine getting a yes to that question, and then let yourself feel all the feelings that come up if the answer to that question was a yes. So that could take 10 seconds, it could take a couple minutes, whatever it is. Once all the feelings have come up, you put that aside, and then you ask yourself, what would it feel like if I got a no to the same question, and let all those emotions come up. Feel what would it feel like if that were the reality, if that were the truth, right? And then let all those feelings come up, and then put that aside, and then you say, I'm ready to know the truth. And usually people will get the truth for them, when they ask that question again. So it's like priming, I'm allowing myself to feel both sides of this equation, right? So I'm not resisting either side of this equation. I've allowed myself to feel it on both accounts. Now I'm ready to know the truth. And so it usually works then. But it's pretty instant. I mean, I've been doing this since 2012, and now I'm like doing it in my sleep. I'm doing, like it's everywhere for me. So, it just means that I get to be intentional, which I want to be intentional. I want to live my life an intentional life, and I want to have surprises and spontaneity too, but but not so much of those. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think
Surprises and spontaneity?
I love all of the above. For me, I'm a yes and.
Right.
Yes to surprises, yes to spontaneity. But I love like tools. I love modalities. So I think for me, it's a yes and of being able to live in that space. But like the big decisions and to help have confidence and knowing going into certain things.
Exactly. Yeah. The big decisions for sure. I mean, I started with little decisions like, what's my weight? And then like, let me see if I can guess it accurately, or, I roughly know what time it is, but let's see if I can get it down to the minute just through muscle testing. Like little things like that to try and test myself to see how accurate I am. And then, of course, then the bigger questions, the bigger decision.
You guys ready for rapid fire?
Yeah. Should I with my car first?
We muscle test it?
Yeah, let's muscle test it. Why not?
I see.
Isn't that how it's going to
She
go with my car?
with her car. Yeah, she makes it.
Okay.
That's great.
Break the vibe, like,
There's no vibe broken.
okay.
No,
You can't break the vibe.
You can't break this vibe.
No, that's a teacher.
Okay, talk to me about rapid fire.
Okay, we ready for this?
Well, we're not going to talk to you about it. We're just going
to do it.
Yeah, because you can do it.
Yeah, you got this. You got this. You ready? Yeah. What's the favorite thing that you ate this week?
Ooh, it's a sharp cheddar with some pesto. Business together.
Sounds delicious. Highest vibrational moment?
Probably getting to the top of Green Valley Lake on a hike and getting the view.
Give a tip to everybody. What is it?
Keep the vibe high. Like dip into the lows. We all got to dip. But when we're done dipping, bring it back up.
If you enjoyed this high vibrational conversation, beauty, wisdom, or just listening to two friends laughing their faces off, hit subscribe to get us on a bi-weekly basis. And be sure to share it with your skincare, wellness, and woo-woo obsessed besties. If you can, we're also super grateful for you hitting that little heart like button on each episode. It helps us grow. Peace out.